Hello, 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 hello. Are you there? Oh, it's the wrong button. Boom! Hello and welcome to Create Now. This is the presenter, Vegan Stephen. How are you getting on? We're going to talk about recording a little bit. Only a teeny tiny little bit. So hit that click that subscribe button and tick that, the bell. We're on TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. Podcasts and all that good stuff. Alright. Gonna tick back to the main screen. I'm back. Alright, so digital audio workstation. I don't know if you've heard this stuff before, but I'm just going to talk about day one. You open up the program. What's going on? So, digital audio workstation, the DAW. There's a variety of DAWs available on the market today. Some free ones, some old ones that are out of date, which are possibly free right now, and some ones that are industry standard and that may be very crap but everyone uses them, and other ones that are very crap but everyone uses them because they're free. Other ones that look very good but they're also kind of crap. So here's some nice little things let's say you're trying to decide, I want to record. How do I do that? What's that all about? I hear you use a computer. Alright. So all this is doing is audio workstations come down to recording on cassette tape, which is a magnetic tape that's written on. There's also vinyl, which is carving it into wax, getting your audio waves carved into wax. And there's the wax cylinders, which is before that. Thomas Edison came up with the wax cylinders for recording. And then after tape, the problem with tape and vinyl was that every time you use it there was a noticeable degradation in quality. Well, maybe if you use it a lot of times. So the earliest recordings were made on wax cylinders. Then they moved on to records. You'd go to a studio and they'd burn it onto the vinyl right there, like a one-off. Do you know you have writable CDs? You record the song and you write it onto that vinyl, and that's the fucking one. That's the master vinyl. And then you bring that to the factory and they repeat that. Back in the good old days, most recording was just one microphone, and you just put it in the room and hope for the best. And then people started to go, oh geez, wouldn't it be mad if we had this a bit more organised? So instead of everyone standing in the same place, they'd have maybe the singer standing right in front of the microphone and the drummer all the way in the back, and the bass player at the back, and so on, and build a bit of a sound stage using space and reverb, so there'd be less echo on the singer maybe, or whatever you're into. There's various tools used for the recording process, such as keeping stuff at the same level. So that was a thing called the compressor, and a thing called the gate, was just anytime there's an instrument's not being used, it just turns off the sound. So instead of hearing interference, it just mutes it. So it's like an auto mute. So that's a very important thing, the mute button. It saves you like having to have your finger on the fader anytime this thing's not playing. Because back in the days, you had to have like 10 fingers out to mix, and so on. So there's some things that make basic tools. You got a compressor, a gate, and an equalizer. So we talked about equalizers before, and that's just low, mid, high, mid, and high, basically. Generally, the main thing use equalizers for is equalizers were first created for telecommunications because with long miles and miles of cables you get capacitance, which is where restrictions of you lose high end due to the resistance of the cable and so on in long runs. So you got to use a treble booster which maybe some of you guitar guys know about. Roy Gallagher, Brian May, treble boosters for keep your high end in your guitar while you're using long lengths of cable. So they use these treble boosters to turn up the high end, because all you'll be able to hear is also because like audio phone quality is an 8-bit, which is fucking awful. It's like video games. So that's why phone calls sound absolutely awful quality. They sound all kind of like harsh and bit crushed. So throughout all these different, they had basic tools for recording. Now you had to have things like compressors and gates, because if you didn't have the gate on, everything would be on at the same time and it'd just be a mess of background noise. Just background noise and home and people talking. Just you hear the fucking people talking about the football match the night before while there's a guitar solo going on and a different microphone sound. So gates, compressors stop the volume going up and just break and distorting, which could cause the vinyl to jump off the actual record itself. So if you get a big low bump in bass on a vinyl record, the vinyl can, the sticker, whatever it's called, the needle can physically jump off the record. So there's restrictions of each recording method. So the vinyl, you couldn't have much low end in, or much high end in for that matter. But anyway, that's all to do with capacitance and all that stuff. So once there's less harmonics in analog and so on. So when shit went to digital, so think about recording a message on your phone, a WhatsApp message, that's all digital. Is where they change it to ones and zeros instead of an audio wave. That's like digital to audio converters. Alright, so there's a wide variety of DAWs you can get anyway. There's free ones, all sorts of ones. Some ones come free with your computer, such as GarageBand comes with some Apple products. I know you used to have to pay for it, and it's free-ish right now if you already own an Apple product. There's there's Reaper, which isn't free, so I guess it's not free. There's Ableton Live, which is trendy right now because I guess it's visual. The big boys were Pro Tools because they were trailblazers. They've been around the longest. I think Cubase has been around the longest, but then Pro Tools, because Cubase came up with not MIDI but VSTIs, I think, just virtual instrument or whatever. So there's a lot of big players in the game. The big ones people use for recording digitally with a computer, rather than having to cut tape and having hot equipment and all this stuff and renting a studio. You can do it on the computer, kind of, to a basic level. You can have a basic 4-track recorder. So the basics of recording is a 4-track recorder. Get an old cassette tape and you have 4 tracks. So that'll be your singer, bassist, guitarist and drums. And then if you want to be very cheeky, you can go, right, I have the drums and bass recorded and guitar, I'll squash them all into 1 track. So then it frees up another 2 tracks called bouncing. So it's like you record your 4 tracks onto 1 tape and then record that tape back into the 4 tracks. So we had 4 full tracks, now you got just a stereo pair and you can keep doubling vocals on top. All sorts of downsides, like downside of quality, you can't go back and change your mistakes and so on. So a lot of it just goes to, a lot of you guys probably had, when you're growing up, like a tape, an old 1 microphone and a little tape, a dictaphone. So you just record and go, I am the aliens are coming into the microphone or something, or there's a secret message from Rubber Ducky to Han Solo 007, something like that. So that's all it is, you're just recording sound waves onto tape, and that's all there is to it. and tape costs money, all that stuff. So to improve with audio quality and just everything, they started moving to. It was primarily the reason they moved to digital was for speed, because it was faster and better for editing. It's very hard to edit on tape. There's ways around it, like recording the tape into a digital audio workstation, which a lot of people do, and then chop it up and then plug it. Anyway, so here's some of the main ones. Tape, 4-track recorders, brilliant. History. Right. Going on to CDs. So they had to go from tapes to CDs. So I mentioned with the EQ when they did that, that's why CDs sounded awful, because they were banging. Remember I mentioned about those treble boosters and EQs, high end? So they the low end gets taken off. The low end gets taken off. The signal from being played so many times with vinyl that every time you play it, the high end gets rolled off. Think about Rumours by Fleetwood Mac. They took so long to mix that they'd keep turning up the treble to because it just sounded dull and muddy, because they were mixing it so much and having the tape going around. The more you use the tape, the less high end you get and so on. So yeah, they decided to move to digital. Brilliant. The thing about digital is it has all the harmonics, so it can sound very, very harsh. So they were still banging up. The big problem went on with digital was they were still cranking up the high end on the EQ and so on to make up for the low end, the high end being missing. So when they put it onto digital, which has more harmonics, and they're boosting the high end, even though it has more harmonics, it was just so brittle and harsh, and people just like, oh, it sounds yuck. It sounded all kind of metallic and just unnatural. Because a lot of these things wouldn't really occur in the natural world, typically day-to-day basis. So DAWs. So they're in digital. Brilliant. Took a load of years for digital was crap because there was no coding. It just sounded really kind of shit, and people didn't know how to use it. They're still trying to EQ, like they're trying to treat it like tape, but it doesn't sound the same. Digital and tape do not sound the same. There's a natural compression and natural distortion that can be achieved from tape. But it's just a bit of taste, isn't it? You can make tape sound super clean like digital, and you can make digital sound super dirty like tape. So it's just different flavors. It's all fine. So we've talked about the DAWs. So Logic, that's a DAW by Mac or Apple. Some people like that for MIDI. It's one of the top ones. Ableton seems to be trending right now. Cubase is my personal favourite, but that's just because it's the one I know. They're all the same, really. All DAWs sound the same. There you are. You can use... it's just like a 4-track recorder. You can have open as many tracks as you want. So you open up your recorder, which is the software. You open it up. Grand. So do you remember on the 4-track recorder I was saying you can have 4 tracks playing at the same time? Okay. So if you think of a song just as 4 elements, it'll really help you. So you got your drums, that's 1 track, brilliant. Bass, that's just your low end, whatever's doing that, boom, 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 boom. Just low energy, low frequency information. Middle frequency information, talking and stuff, guitars, pianos, good. And other high end information, or vocals, which is kind of mid range again. Sure, listen. So you got to create 4 tracks. When you open up your computer, you go like fucking right, new track. You create 4 different tracks. The only real, but it's the same as a tape recorder. Now it can get more complicated if you wanted to, but personally I try to use the DAW as just a 4-track tape recorder. except it doesn't break. It always sounds the same. It's completely consistent, and I can whip it out anytime I want, and it's fucking brilliant. So yeah, there's various devices, like you can use there's ways of doing this on your phone and so on. So you open up your DAW, whichever one you choose, they're all the same. You open a new track, and you might record just a track of you singing, or of you playing guitar or whatever, and that goes on one track, and that's brilliant. You have your track, and you'd be thinking, geez, that sounds pretty good. Wouldn't it be cool if I had someone like clapping in the background? And this is called an overdub, or sound on sound, which is created by Les Paul, the guitarist, famous jazz guitarist. So this is where you record it, and then you record something else on top. Overdubbing, punching in, all these good things. So that allowed for big, massive soundscapes like Sgt. Pepper's, Hearts Club Band, some mad Prince shit. Actually, I think Prince, whoops, they were all done on fucking tape. We're talking about overdubbing here. Things that wouldn't naturally, you can have 4 people in a room and they play a performance, and then you can have them again just only singing, and then you can have again only singing, 4 more people, the same 4, and just keeps getting stacked up until you can get a massive sound like an orchestra out of just 4 people. Or if you have a lot of time in your hands, out of just one person, banging different instruments and so on, playing along. And depending on how those sounds are organised, it could be music, which means organised sound, or it could be noise, which just means disorganised sound. That's up to you. But it all comes back down to your 4-track recorder, 4 tracks. You may only want to use one of them. So for a lot of live recordings, you'd need 2 tracks really, left and right, I guess, perhaps. So you'd have one mic there, and you'd have someone singing and playing guitar. And that's all you need, just one track. Just press record, and you're done. And then you might be thinking, right, I might cut a bit off the end there, and you just I say drag and drop, no, it's a computer, so you just click and drag maybe, and you just trim off a little bit at the end, or cut a second off the start, and that's it. That's the thing done. And if you want to get into other bullshit and stuff, you can, but that's all there is to it. You just press record. It's got a record button, it's got a play button, it's got a pause button, a stop button, and the other 2 buttons it has is like a back to the start, back to the finish. So back in the good old days of tape, you go to the end of the song and then be like, rewind, press play. You couldn't just like keep a thing looped and play it on loop. You have to go back to the start and play the whole tune. Bruce Sweeney used to only play for Michael Jackson's record sound engineer, used to only play the tracks the whole way through, from start to finish. By God. Possibly due to sound quality, who knows? So digital is a lot more sound forgiving and just so much better than analog in so many ways. As regards versatility and speed, digital audio workstation, it's very good. People love it. It's Cubase, Pro Tools, the ones that no one likes. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that if I get sued or not, but generally people don't like them. They charge too much. You have to have it because it's in every studio, so you kind of have to. That's what everyone else is using and so on. Loads of people just learnt it and it's the only one they know. Personally, I like to switch around with using different DAWs, different instruments, like I'll use this guitar today, I'll use that guitar today. You can use multiple DAWs, which is very, very nice. You can use like one DAW to play a MIDI backing track synced into the studio's DAW, and it's brilliant. DAW, digital audio workstation. Alright, so all you're doing is just a 4-track recorder, 4 tracks. There you have it. You can save it if you want it. There's effects available. There's all sorts of stuff available. You can leave that to your imagination. But all it comes down to it is you're just recording it. Just think of your own basic tape recorder you had. You might have one in the attic or something. Just a basic tape machine. Um, Does anyone remember when you had two tape decks, and you used to play one tape and copy it over to the other tape? Your friend would have a mixtape or something, or whatever the fuck it is. They do that same thing with the 4-tracks. They just copy one tape to the other, and then anyway. Lots of difficulties and so on. The benefits are just brilliant. It's very good. And you can email it straight to someone. It's very, very good. There's loads of problems that aren't there, just noise, and if you want to fix one like vocal mistake, you can, and stuff. It's audio workstations and recording. So yeah, that's all. That's all the stuff I want to talk about today. Touchdown compressors, gates, digital audio workstations. Use whichever one you want. They all do the same thing. There's often a free one with whatever computer or whatever you have. Right now it's trendy to use Ableton and teach Ableton. That's more for like MIDI DJing and live, but you can record on it if you want. You can do Anthem with Anthem. It's another one called Fruity Loops. Was big there a few years ago because of the drum sounds and so on, and MIDI sequencing, and some big boys like Avicii used and so on. The hits have been made using every bit of equipment you use, and when you get through life and all that stuff, you realise the equipment, it doesn't matter a hoot what DAW you use. It doesn't matter if you're using a tape recorder or a big expensive studio. It's just about the person. If you're recording a big superstar, they're going to sound pretty good no matter what you use, like. So yeah, having said that, I'm happy to argue about the finer details of each DAW all night long, and the history and all this stuff, but just keep it simple. Doesn't matter which one you use, just use whichever one you use, I guess. The thing about Ableton is it costs a few bob. Like, DAWs cost a lot of money. That's why people get so angry about them. So, and they often go out of business a lot. Like, I started on Adobe Audition, which was a software company started called Cool Edit Pro. I learned that one inside out. I knew it backwards and front ways, whatever. They got bought out by Adobe, the Adobe Photoshop people, and they got changed to Adobe Pro. And then I think it got really expensive and I couldn't get it, and then I got it, but it was owned by Adobe, and then I got it, and then they had some falling out, or they just decided to stop making it again. And then because it's digital, it can't keep up with the latest version of the operating system, where you're on Windows, Mac or whatever. So then it went out of date and you can't use it again. So unfortunately with these things with computers, you gotta be very versatile and just think to it as like you're just creating a track, recording it. All the other bits are you can bring plugins in and out from anywhere. This is just a basic frame recorder. The basic Recordia Studio is just 4 tracks there. You can play any samples in it you want. Bring in any external keyboards and all that good stuff. Alright, so that's digital audio workstations. Hope you enjoyed that. I went over a lot of information there, so hope you had your earbuds tickled. It can be just very confusing knowing which one do I get. Just if you have an Apple product, I think a GarageBand comes free with that, and if you have a PC, Reapers, they give you like, I don't know if it's a forever free trial or how it works, but I think you can use it for non-commercial purposes, for like, I don't know, you get a very long free trial or something like that. I don't know what you have to pay for it if you make money off it and stuff like that. I don't know. But yeah, companies are constantly getting big, innovating, and then going bankrupt and so on. So there's so many great, like classic plugin called Echo Boy by Line 6. They stopped making it, and loads of engineers are still using that old plugin. And a lot of these plugins aren't, you know, cross compatible with the new touch screens brought out by like Slate and Media and all this stuff. Backwards compatible, because like it's a constantly moving forward was industry and cutthroat and profits, and so yeah, equipment stuff's constantly going out of date. As Steve Albini says, if you try to open up a recording from 10 years ago, you won't be able to, because you've missed all the updates and different softwares have crashed. You uninstall the plugin, unplug in, the trial ran out, and you don't subscribe to it anymore. So he thinks the only way to keep things going is to have it on tape, because you have like, was it 8 tracks, maybe 16 tracks there, and it's just, there's no plugins, you just press play and there it is. You can achieve the same thing in audio recording, digital, just it's called using stems, but his philosophy is to just have everything export single files. That way you don't have to be worrying, oh, will I change this EQ level for a remix? Anyway, there's a lot of different philosophies in it. At the end of the day, it's a business, and prices have to be kept low, and profits need to be maximised just to survive and to compete. Capitalism and all those things. And I really enjoy every new plugin that comes out and so that I get my hands on, I guess, but they're all just distractions. It just comes down to use any frame you want. You're just using a record button. If you want to use a plugin which is like a compressor or an effect by a different company, you can nearly always import it or just use it. So don't get tied down by, oh, I love the EQ by this company or anything. They all copy each other. They're all copying, nearly all just copying a hardware compressor and all these things. That's, yeah. Sure, look, it's like getting way off track here. It's like a fucking tube screamer on the guitar pedal. Everyone just copies a tube screamer. Anyway, that's it. Well done. Stay on track. This was just DAWs intro. Something that I spent many hours thinking about and just going, oh, what is going on? It makes no sense. And me just going, oh, do I have to use Pro Tools? It costs like thousands. And it keeps going out of date. And I've never bought it personally, allegedly. I've chose to use other softwares that are more affordable to me. Over and out, baby.